So now that I've finished my trilogy of reviews on the worst films depicting Superman in live-action cinema, I've decided to do a spin-off episode about the other DC Comics influenced film produced by Alexander and Ilya Salkind, which was so bad that they never actually included it on any of the Superman DVD box sets.
Ho 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 ho, delightfully devilish, Seymour.
Yes, everybody, welcome back to Delightfully Devilish, the show where we discuss films that all at once meet the criteria of being the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm your host, Jukebox Harry, and today we are looking at the first female-led superhero film ever made. Supergirl is a 1984 superhero film directed by the same mind behind Santa Claus the Movie and Jaws 2, Janot Zvork. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but whatever. This film was made after Superman 3's less impressive box office returns dictated that apparently Superman films had run its course, but yet before Canon Films acquired the rights to Superman and made the ultimately terrible Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. As a matter of fact, the failure of Supergirl is what actually convinced the Salkinds to sell off the rights. The film stars Helen Slater. Ever heard of her? Exactly. This film was actually such a dud that it put a damper on the production of female-led superhero films for ages. In following decades, we had movies like Barbed Wire, Catwoman, and Elektra all reinforced that. As a matter of fact, female-led superhero films didn't really take off until the release of Wonder Woman, which honestly I didn't really like. And I didn't like Captain Marvel either. I am yet to see a female-led superhero film that I've actually liked. I do hold out hopes for Black Widow, and I'm hoping one day they finally make a film about the Scarlet Witch. But anyway, until that day comes, we have to watch movies like this. Now, going into this movie, I am not at all familiar with the backstory of the character Supergirl. I've never read any of the comics, nor have I seen the TV series, even though I really do hope to one day. I just really hope that it is nothing like this movie. Supergirl opens on a mixed note. The theme song has a Superman-esque feeling, but doesn't try to copy the iconic Williams tune. Yet the title credits lack the impressive quality established by the first two Superman films, although it's still a far better intro than Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. But the cost of these intro credits was nearly $1 million. That seems pretty wasteful. Then we cut to a large ice phallic symbol, the interior of which looks like a dungeon from a Legend of Zelda game if it was designed by Liberace. And Peter O'Toole uses a second phallic symbol to create a third phallic symbol. Jesus, with all the penis in this film, you'd think Sigmund Freud directed it.
What's that gonna be, Zoltar?
I think a tree.
I think not.
What is a tree?
A lovely thing which grows on Earth.
Earth? You mean where my cousin went?
We're only about 2 lines in, just slow down with the shameless exposition.
And where, one day soon, perhaps I might venture as well.
I don't believe you.
No, I don't believe you. You've had less than a minute of screen time and already I don't see myself believing you as Supergirl.
How?
In that. Through that.
To think Peter O'Toole is considered one of the best actors of all time, Jesus, accomplished English actors really find their kryptonite when it comes to big-budget fantasy movies. If you need a reminder of that, just look at the work of Jeremy Irons in Dungeons & Dragons.
I ask you one last time, will you submit to the ruling of this council and relinquish your scepter?
The binary shoot, but you could never survive the pressure. It would destroy
That I can.
you.
Zip, zap, and I'm gone.
Just leave then, nobody is going to miss you.
You'd never leave Argo City.
Indeed I might, Kara. Too much of a good thing here.
There is not a single good thing in sight.
Saturn is. Is that further away than Earth?
Silly question. Did you not study six-dimensional geometry at school? Do they not teach you anything anymore?
Did they stop teaching you how to act?
Our city has 2 great power sources.
Okay, fine, let's go back to the shameless exposition. I'd rather that over the shitty thing that you call small talk.
This is one of them. Look.
Wow, and you just carry that thing around?
An omegahedron. The Guardians let you have it?
Not exactly. I borrowed it.
You stole it. Oh, Zoltar, they're gonna
No, borrowed it. For the afternoon. For inspiration.
The source of all the planetary energy, and you took it just because you were uninspired. Jesus. That wasn't particularly impressive, so I don't know what the point of that was.
Allura, join us. We're just inventing miracles.
Inventing miracles? Jesus Christ, Peter O'Toole, you have not said a single sensible thing so far.
Put your fingers here, Kara, and press hard.
Phrasing?
I still don't know where in the fuck we are, but protagonist Kara Zor-El uses the magic penis to create a large dragonfly which breaches a hole in the wall that sucks the omegahedron out of the hole. But if a dragonfly was able to tear a hole in the wall just like that, then this place really doesn't have good structural integrity. Zoltar closes the hole with his magic dong.
You took the omegahedron.
That's not correct. I lost the omegahedron.
To quote Dr. Dre, what's the difference?
Without it, this city can't survive more than a few days.
Our lights will grow dim and the very air we breathe so thin.
Ah, that's a shame.
This is our universe, and you've destroyed it with a game, a childish game.
I don't understand how the writers made characters aware of how dumb that decision was and then decided to keep that decision in the story as part of one of the main characters' arcs.
I've lost the omegahedron. I must be sent to the Phantom Zone. Your suffering will be short. Mine, forever.
You know, I always wondered how Peter O'Toole kept getting nominated for Academy Awards but never winning them. I think the Academy saw Supergirl. We have to assume they're Kryptonians, but how do they survive Krypton getting destroyed? Just where in the fuck do they live? Who in the fuck is our protagonist? And why doesn't the film care about any of this? Out of the blue, Kara suddenly decides to activate a pod which takes her on an autopilot journey into a world of very ugly visual effects. I don't know what we were meant to be seeing, but it looks like she's been poorly chroma keyed against the backdrop of a whirlpool lamp with added coloured lights and filters.
It is one fuck of a bummer to look at, I can tell you that.
What are you thinking about?
That I made a bad choice starring in this film. Yeah, I'm sure after watching the first 10 minutes of this film, that's gotta be what Faye Dunaway was thinking.
You'd almost know how to make me invisible.
Oh, I do know. Take 5 black beans on the head of a dead man. Place 1 bean in his mouth, 2 beans in his eye.
Then spill them all over yourself watching Cars 2 in theaters?
This nigga eating beans!
How long have we been together?
Ooh, months, darling.
And why does it seem like years?
Somehow I think this film is going to feel like I'm watching it for years.
Because you're so impatient. You want everything yesterday.
Oh, you want to talk impatient? Yeah, we've gone from Liberace's palace to Earth in 13 minutes without getting any context whatsoever. The omegahedron lands in Dunaway's dip, and apparently she instantly knows of its power, which she uses to start a car.
That Superman has indeed embarked on a special peace-seeking mission to a galaxy scientists estimate may be several hundred trillion light years from our own.
And that little voice clip right there explains why Superman never actually appears in this film. In reality, it's because Christopher Reeve had no faith in this movie. And that was smart of him, yet he had faith to appear in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Ironic.
Somehow, Kara's costume and makeup has changed during her journey, and she inexplicably emerges from beneath a lake with full awareness of her powers and a Supergirl outfit. Did she know that she'd be able to do that when she came to Earth? Like, was that one of the things she studied at home? You know, I have to assume this because the film never tells me. Also, that shot was actually a wooden cutout with Helen Slater's picture pasted on. If you look closely, you can see the wires. Being a girl, she uses her powers to make a flower bloom. Wait, why are you surprised that you can fly? You literally did it just a second ago.
The cosmic ballet goes on.
Does anyone want to switch seats?
Then she goes flying, and we've seen it all before in 3 preceding superhero films, done better every single time. It's not as bad as Superman 4, but it's not particularly impressive. And just because I say something's not as bad as Superman 4, that doesn't make it a compliment. Faye Dunaway actually lives in a carnival for some reason.
I was reading in this book, you know, The Witch's Guide to Heaven and Hell. And if you start your own coven, all you have to do is charge $5 a head minimal admission. That's great. Chicken feed.
So this film is dealing with witchcraft and the characters talking about its commercial prospects. That all feels very misplaced.
Where's little Nigel?
Nigel, my dear Bianca, is history.
Oh, yeah? How so?
The water department is history. The car payments are history. The mortgage payments are history.
Your career is history. Kara lands in a random street where she gets accosted by 2 truckers.
Stop that.
You're, Superman's best friend, huh?
No. His cousin.
See, Kara doesn't know anything about being on Earth. She only knows that her cousin was supposed to be there, so she should have never heard of Superman.
Oh, she works out, eh?
Why are you doing this?
It's just the way we are.
And now we know everything that we need to about this film's perspective on binary gender roles. Boys will be boys, and women will prance around, grow flowers, and fight off sexual predators. You can tell that few women were involved in the creative process of making Supergirl.
You shouldn't have done that, baby.
You shouldn't have used your superpowers against my rapist friend. Surely my knife will stop you.
You really want to play games, eh, sweetheart?
She has super breath and laser eyes. Just take the hint, Randy Quaid, walk away. Faye Dunaway plays Selena, a very campy witch who, for the record, is not even an actual villain in the DC universe. Most of the characters in this film don't come from the DC universe. Only 5 characters from the comics actually appeared in this film, and most of them are almost irrelevant.
I am considering nothing less than world domination.
No, I don't think that's going to be happening.
I have the power.
Faye Dunaway has an Academy Award, and yet she can't say the words "I have the power" with the same amount of conviction as Dolph Lundgren can in the film Masters of the Universe.
I have in my time seen a great number of things even more impressive than a human cigarette lighter, dear lady.
In a world where Superman exists, yeah, I'm sure you've seen way more spectacular things.
I want to be rich and famous.
Oh, okay, then find a role in another film. Like any other film. This isn't gonna do it for you.
I was put on this earth to thrill millions.
I doubt it.
Selena shows off her power by turning Blondie upside down and spinning her.
What happened?
Oh, nothing much.
You got that right.
To make her seem more like a princess, Kara sleeps alongside bunny rabbits. And amongst her powers are the ability to change her hair color to brunette and her clothes into a schoolgirl outfit. Oh no, she looks like she's on her way to fulfill the sexual fantasy of one of the perverted producers on this movie. She then goes to enroll in school using her super speed to somehow type out a letter of recommendation. So if she's smart enough to know how to write a convincing letter, which apparently overrides any need for her to pay tuition fees, then how come she isn't smart enough to realize that she only has a couple of days to save her home world and she probably shouldn't be enrolling in high school? By phenomenal coincidence, Kara ends up bunking with Lois Lane's younger sister Lucy, played by Maureen Tiffy from Fame.
I'm supposed to have a single this term.
We don't always get what we want, Miss Lane. Disappointments thicken our skins.
Then everyone involved in this film should hopefully have thick skin. Also, in the first Superman film, Lois Lane mentioned that her sister Lucy had 3 kids. This girl is in high school.
Clark Kent's your cousin? You're putting me on.
You know him?
Do I know him? Does my sister know him? Now that's the big question.
Yeah, that's not a big question. The answer is yes, simple as that. And Supergirl does somehow manage to force a Superman cameo into the film with a poster for the real Superman, allowing us all to remember a time when the Salkinds had better ideas.
He's a real character.
Know what? He is a real character, something this film is sorely lacking.
I'll make everybody love me. Oh, no chance. You're an awful person, honey, remember? Forget it.
Huh, so this film does have some self-awareness. That's a surprise. These 2 women also sexualize a young guy. Did the filmmakers think they were being progressive, sexualizing a guy instead of a girl for once? Kara starts sensing something is wrong, so she gets up to leave, but then gets called out by the teacher. And this moment symbolizes something very wrong with this film. We're meant to be watching a superhero movie, but the protagonist is literally focusing on going to an Earth high school over saving her home world. The filmmakers had a chance to do something really iconic with Supergirl, but instead they made her the most generic, gender-conforming girl you could possibly get and forgot to make her a fucking superhero.
Have you been going through my papers?
Of course not, sir.
Then how do you know the correct answer? How?
I guess I just...
It's all this crazy weather we've been having, sir. All the storms, shockwaves, electromagnetism. It makes people smarter than they are for a second.
Who thought up lines like this? After getting to see Kara in class, we then get to see her playing on the hockey team. And then in the woman's shower. And then talking about getting her ears pierced.
All the guys go crazy.
Because I have holes in my ears?
Heterosexual guys go crazy for women's holes, Kara. And in case you forgot that Kara was a girl, we then see her trying on a bra, because apparently nobody in Argo City needed support for their breasts.
Why don't you come home with me?
No, I think I'm gonna stay here and study.
Are you gonna go out and save the world at any point? She goes flying again. This film keeps using her flight as a gimmick to distract from the lack of a story, but it's all excessively obvious.
Shells of a nut. Boil the nut in oil.
All these phallic symbols and talk of nuts, Jesus Christ. You know, in a female-led superhero film, cis male genitalia still manages to reign supreme.
He who drinks the water shall be in love with the first person he sees.
For some reason, Selena's plan for world domination is to pull a witchcraft Bill Cosby on that guy they were sexualizing earlier.
You know, I thought we might get to know each other a little more before we dig in and talk real turkey.
This film should have told Hollywood that turkey talk and sexy talk do not go hand in hand. And yet, it didn't. Because in 2003, Geely tried to do that.
It's turkey time.
Huh?
Gobble, gobble.
Loverboy wanders off, destined to fall in love with the first person he sees, despite clearly walking past several people on the street.
So make it happen again, you know?
I can't make it happen again. I don't know how I did it the first time.
A quote from the Salkinds about why this film failed. Then we're in Popeyes. Fuck Popeyes, they're still better than Chick-fil-A, but I got tricked into thinking their Cajun fries were vegan friendly, but no, there's pig lard in them. And Kara changes back into her school uniform despite not being at school. If changing clothes is one of her superpowers, why is this the only other outfit she ever changes into?
Hi, Jimmy Olsen, photographer.
And there is the only character from the original Superman films willing to appear in this shit show. Selena uses witchcraft to activate a digger to go after Loverboy. I don't know how it is that Supergirl now feels less like a superhero movie and more like Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive, but something is very wrong. I also don't get why if Selina has witch powers, this is her plan. Supergirl is a film that will really leave you speechless with questions. The runaway digger starts a petrol fire, and finally Supergirl comes out to do something, just past the 1 hour mark in the film. We have had zero action for the first hour of this movie, and I don't count that encounter with the sexual predators, that was nothing. She spills a large amount of water over the fire, which in reality is a bad idea because water is more likely to spread the fire. Then she goes after the digger.
A storm dragon?
A what? Jesus Christ, you're not even trying, are you?
A Supergirl.
There it is! There it is!
And that's the first time anyone uses that term in the film, over an hour in. Supergirl removes Loverboy from the mouth of the digger and flies it to safety before changing into her schoolgirl outfit again. And then Loverboy looks in Akara's eyes.
I love you.
You sicken me.
So now we have a shitty romantic subplot as well. Yeah, the first female-led superhero film ever made, and they tried to make her as regressive as possible. After he kisses her, she runs off, and Selina casts some kind of a spell which leads the film to cut back and forth between random shots of something emerging from the earth and Kara just contemplating how a guy basically forced a kiss upon her. And before we get to discover what's actually going on, suddenly she's changed again.
Leave this place and do no harm.
This is not possible.
Well, first of all, through God, all things are possible, so jot that down.
This is not right.
How can you say something like this isn't possible in a world where superheroes exist and witchcraft exists? The creature is some invisible beast which Supergirl defeats by defying all laws of physics and collecting electricity into a rod which he somehow unleashes on it. You can tell the writers had so little creativity that they couldn't even come up with something to actually put there, hence why they made the creature invisible.
All I'm saying is you can't go nuts over a landscape guy and a teenager in a blue suit.
Wow. What do you know?
The girl can fly.
Really?
Let's get serious.
No, we're 73 minutes into the film at this point, and we're way past the point of it ever being taken seriously. You know what? Let me make the film a little better.
Let's get
busy.
Kara tracks the Omega Hedron to Selina's carnival and runs into Loverboy, who literally proposes to her. Selina cuts their interaction short.
Who are you?
I'm Rick James, bitch.
I am Selina, Dionysus of Catania, priestess of Sekhmet.
The fuck are you talking about?
I am the ultimate siren of Endor.
Hang on. Did she say Endor? Is this set in the same universe as Star Wars? Were there witches on the Ewok forest moon?
Try this.
So you can teleport the guy, but you didn't think to do that earlier when you sent that runaway digger after him. Selina cast Loverboy into a runaway bumper car dome. Jesus Christ, this is maximum overdrive. And then she uses the Pokemon move Double Team, supposedly to confuse Kara, despite the fact that it's painfully obvious which one is the real her. And this ultimately proves futile because Supergirl literally just flies right over her and then throws a bunch of poles at Selina. But that takes a fair amount of time, and it should be enough time for Selina to get out of the way, but apparently not. Then she picks up Loverboy's bumper car and flies him through the roof. It's not clear why she didn't just lift him out of the car or why she had to fly through the roof when there was literally a less destructive exit right there, but I'm kind of done asking questions by now.
Now I am really upset.
I don't believe that.
We get yet another flight sequence, only this one is different because it has a bumper car. Then Loverboy randomly gets knocked out with a coconut. Even though Selina has the power to conduct spells and make potions, this is her technique of choice. I mean, I guess it has results. Being such a terrible female character, Selina calls a man to solve her problems.
So you come crawling back, you cheap sack of shit.
And Loverboy snaps out of his trance, yet apparently still loves Kara, though he doesn't recognize her in a Supergirl outfit until they kiss again. Selina teleports him again, then a mountain has randomly appeared.
How can a mountain just appear?
You see, magic. Got it.
More of Supergirl flying, she enters the mountain fortress, gets trapped, Selina hypnotizes Ethan, and then Kara gets sent to the Phantom Zone because Selina suddenly has that power. The girls' high school literally organizes a student protest against Selina. God, I wish I was making that up. You would think that this film is a satire on modern feminism. Oh god, no, it's just bad is what it is. Kara wakes up to find a familiar face.
Zoltar!
Squirt.
Oh yeah, Peter O'Toole is back. He got headlined as one of the main actors in this film, despite the fact that he hasn't been seen for the past 90 minutes.
Squirt.
And now he's obsessed with squirting?
Squirt.
You sick son of a bitch. A vortex inexplicably appears which sucks Zoltar in, thus concluding his arc as the man who doomed his city and did nothing to fix it. Supergirl escapes, Selina summons some kind of unconvincing Cthulhu-esque demon creature that holds Supergirl in his grasp, and the visual effects peak at their absolute worst as the film shows us her apparently being stretched and wrangled. I sincerely do not understand how anyone thought this was okay, or how the effects look this bad on a budget that was only slightly less than that of Superman 3. She instantly gives up on everything like the strong woman she is, but the voice of a man, Zoltar, encourages her to break out. Using super speed, Supergirl creates her own vortex which somehow makes the demonic spirit turn on Selina, destroying her and then fixing a mirror. Lucy falls for Jimmy Olsen, the mountain suddenly disappears, Supergirl leaves her boyfriend behind to fly off with the Omegahedron and somehow gets all the way home, even though I thought apparently her powers wouldn't be present in a Kryptonian society. The end. Is Supergirl a bad movie?
Yes!
As a child, I remember being disappointed when Supergirl didn't pop up on my DVD box set of the first 5 Superman films, but now I completely understand why it wasn't there. This movie is worse than Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, and it made less money than that film. It's no wonder that studios had so little faith in female-led superhero films after Supergirl came out. The creators of this movie gave the world the worst portrayal of a female superhero I have ever seen. Every single thing she does revolves around stereotypes of femininity or living out the life of an American high school girl without any dramatic substance to the character. The villain is a campy witch with inconsistent powers, and both of their lives revolve largely around the romantic involvement of a one-dimensional male lover, and how Selena plans to dominate the world when everything she does essentially revolves around winning the affections of Harry from Die Hard is way beyond me. This movie is a mess of one-dimensional characters, plot holes, inane dialogue, and campy performances. Faye Dunaway delivers possibly her most ridiculously over-the-top performance outside of Mommy Dearest. You can tell she's trying to take the role seriously, but nobody watching this film will be taking her seriously. Yet 8-time Oscar nominee Peter O'Toole is the low point of the cast, being ridiculously over the top with his theatrics during the first few minutes of the film, and then seemingly lost in a drunken haze for the remaining few minutes when he comes back. Both stars got nominated for Golden Raspberry Awards for their performances, but honestly, Peter O'Toole got nominated for Worst Actor. He should have gotten Worst Supporting Actor, because his appearance in this film is little more than a glorified cameo. Helen Slater is a lone bright spot in the cast. The director personally admitted that he tried to make his movie into a Wizard of Oz-esque fantasy film, and as a result, Kara Zor-El feels like little more than an iteration of Dorothy who just happens to have the ability to fly. She's a little girl lost in a fantasy world with none of the character development that made Dorothy so great. But despite the misguided characterization, Helen Slater plays her role with a likable, cheesy charm. It's not what Supergirl should be, but she captures what the filmmakers were going for perfectly. And like I said, nothing about this movie ever gets explained. There are more holes in the plot of this movie than in the remains of Bonnie and Clyde's car. The first 10 minutes are ridiculously rushed, and the audience gets no understanding of the society that is Argo City or the individuals that dwell there. Supergirl is quick to leave, and then we actually never see it again. I'm not sure why the studio would spend so much money building a set that just gets written out of the plot and then never comes back. And once Supergirl leaves, nothing happens for the next 50 minutes. There's no action until the first hour is over, and then the second hour of the film is a prolonged sequence of characters talking about nothing, Supergirl occasionally flying, and then 2 girls trying to win the affections of a man. This film feels ridiculously long at 2 hours, but the original theatrical cut of this film was only 90 minutes. That would have been a way better viewing experience, simply because the plot holes would remain the same, and yet at the same time there would be less to watch. The movie would still be a pile of shit, but it would be a smaller pile of shit. Supergirl is a shit film, but I don't hate it. I don't hold the same conviction against it that I hold against Batman v Superman, so it isn't the worst comic book or superhero film ever made, but it's definitely one of them. I give it 1 squirt out of 10. It's a superhero film with no action, a female-led film with a very regressive perspective on women, no characterization, no good writing, no good direction, and some surprisingly shoddy visual effects for a movie of that budget. And that does it for today's episode of Delightfully Devilish, you guys. If you want to see more episodes of this show, please hit that subscribe button. If there are any movies you want to see me discuss on this show, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, until next time, I have been your host, Jukebox Harry. Peace.
Sure, you won't have a squirt? Once you get used to it, I think it's delicious.